You there, Will?
I am.
Okay. You're on the table now.
No thanks.
They got your couple chairs.
There's
plenty. There's plenty of room. Plenty of
Brad.
I'm okay.
You might have to.
If more show up.
Nope.
Is there anybody next to?
No.
That'd be a good spot for Brad. So he can look at.
He doesn't necessarily.
I'll sit there, that's right.
Yeah.
File wherever you want.
Right there. Right there.
Oh, they want you here.
You can't get rid of
You can answer questions.
it. I'll do what I can.
No answering the questions, right? No answering the questions.
It's on the agenda, so we can't, once we get to that one. And where's? And what happened to Tara?
I think she's getting this. Keep track of you.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, at this time, we'll call school district number 1 to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have trustee Will Gravely is on the phone too, just so everybody's aware. And the meeting is being recorded per state law. Can we get a recognition of visitors?
Dave Williamson, John Thompson, Shane Olson, Lisa Olson, Tony Chu, Katie Crowfoot, Trish Shriver, Shelley Burton, Brad Dahl, Dwight Crawford, Bill and Malene Bandy, Bob Schock, Leanne Pomeroy, Courtney and DJ Krosnick, Marge Olson, and Mr. Simeon.
Okay. Public comment. This is a time for anything that is not on this agenda. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into new business. First item is first reading and adoption of policy 3510. 3510 is the school sponsored activities. Guess the change would be under B 3B, the board authorizes the administration to consider requests to approve participation in high school activities by 8th graders in consultation with parents and the head coach, consistent with policy and Montana High School Sports Association rules. The board only makes this authorization for high school activities that do not have corresponding junior high programs. Additional coaches or chaperones may be required at the discretion of the administration if middle school and high school students are participating together.
I move to approve the amendment to policy 3510 3B.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign, motion carries. Next is elementary bond resolution.
I would make a motion. I'm gonna read this, so bear with me. I move a resolution of school district number 1, Deer Lodge, Powell County, Montana, submitting to the qualified electors of the district the question of issuing general obligation school building bonds in one or more series in the aggregate principal amount of $15,540,000 for the purpose of providing funds to pay the costs of designing, constructing, improving, renovating, equipping, and furnishing improvements to the district properties. Related improvements and costs and paying costs associated with the sale and issuance of the bonds.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Gustis, what do you have anything to start the discussion with? Not quite ready.
I do have a question. Do we have, is the removal of the old building? Yeah,
Yes.
It's in the language.
it is in the language.
At this time, we'll open up for discussion.
If I may,
Oh, yeah.
is there a certain, percent of voter turnout that has to, vote yes for the bond to pass?
So no, if it was a poll election, then yes, we would be subject to certain percentages. Because it's a mail ballot election, it's strictly based on the majority vote. We don't have to have a certain turnout.
Okay.
I want to say, I know you guys are in a hard spot. I know that the facilities are in rough shape. I am not in support of running this bond, especially at that level. I don't think everybody in our community can afford it. And granted, it's not much when you put it to your tax base. It's a few dollars a month. But we have folks that are in rough shape, and a few dollars a month is a few dollars a month. But I am very disappointed that we didn't look at the cost of repairing that Granville Stewart School. That was always, Rod Simpson and I, years ago, sat down and visited. The plan was Granville Stewart is big enough to hold all our K-6 kids, has our library, has 4 offices, has a central teaching location, has a workspace, has the kitchen, the cafeteria. Even if the cost had been $3 or $4 million, I would feel better about doing that and being able to close down our Cody Spear and our Duval Junior High when that came to that point, and shutting down the Granville Stewart School and relying on Duval and Spear. Those are old buildings, and I don't think we've looked at the cost that it's going to take bringing that Duval Junior High up to where it needs to be. There's going to be a lot of maintenance costs that you're going to have to put out to the public after this is done to say, hey, we're going to have to put a new roof on. Hey, we're going to have to, this is a 50-year life expectancy on these boilers. They're up. Hey, the air exchange system in this building doesn't work and hasn't for years. Some of the heaters in our building don't work and haven't for years. And we haven't looked at the cost after this bond. And I think that cost is going to be substantial to keep those 2 old buildings running. And I think not looking at the possibility of spending the $3 or $4 or even $5 million to get this building in Granville Stewart where they needed to be, I think that was a mistake. I wish you had done that, just so that we had that choice. And then when that straw poll went out and everybody voted, that was one of the things that never got asked. How many of you would like to see us put an alternative using the buildings and the facilities we already have for the public? So I guess that's kind of where I stand with that. I am a huge supporter of kids. I push our church. I'm a pastor at Baptist Church, and I push our church to support kids and support this school time and time again, and I always will. Kids are so very important, but so are our seniors. And our folks that are on Social Security and fixed incomes, and we have to be responsible for the things we have. And so I just feel that I wish you guys had done a little more to put that out to the public. They said, hey, this is the cost. It's overwhelming. It's just not worth it. But we never got that. So thank you.
More comment?
I don't necessarily disagree with Shane. I think that alternative obviously was presented, but you guys also hired a professional to take a look at your buildings. and I respect what the professional brought in as good options for the school board. A couple of comments on the scope of the project that I would like you guys to consider. One is the roof on the junior high. We know it's the newest roof in the school district, which is kind of interesting. I mean, Mr. Perkins and I worked on that project, but that roof is also covered with rocks. And those rocks create this huge problem when it's time to find a leak in that roof. And if they're gonna put an addition on that school, I would recommend that they put a roof on the entire building and remove that rock off there to take away some of the future costs of repairing the building in the future. Another thing related to your project with the junior high school, you're gonna be putting a lot more kids in that building. You're gonna putting in a different variation of kids, and I think that you need to make the building ADA compliant, and think you need to consider putting an elevator in. If nothing else, build an elevator shaft now while they're doing that major construction. I think we spent $75,000 on the school board fixing that chair lift when it broke. So consider an elevator when you're building this project, because the opportunity is there to do it right. On the front side of that building where you want to build the addition is where there was consideration to build an elevator. And then the last comment that I have is in terms of the scope of your project that I would like you to look at. I know you want to replace the boilers in this building. If you have a really good boiler sitting out there in that building, but the refractory in that wood-fired boiler needs to be replaced because we were burning dirty chips early on with that process, and it kind of contaminated the refractory, and the refractory needs to be replaced. I think it was $30,000 to replace that refractory inside that boiler the last time there was a quote to do it. And I would if there's money left in the project, that'd be a strong consideration, because if the boilers do go down in this building, you can light a match and fire up that thing and it will work. So those are my comments. I also would like to say, like I said at the meeting in the gym 2 weeks ago, this project is only going to get more expensive, and I'd rather pay for it now than pay for it 10 years down the line when it's going to be even more. The citizens of Deer Lodge got shafted on a sewer plant outside of town. It's a great sewer plant. We could have done it 10 years earlier. We paid a lot less money, but we didn't. We chose to drag our feet, and we paid a lot more money because we drag our feet. So we know that these facilities have a finite life, and eventually they're going to need large investments. And I'd rather pay fewer taxes now than more taxes in the future. Thank you.
So just clarifying the boiler, it's pretty much toast now because they never drained it. Everything in it froze. So that boiler is, you'd have to replace the whole thing.
Oh, so that's too bad.
They never put valves in to block the water from going through it all.
And the roof
does leak.
Go ahead. Anytime you put it on.
Any more public comment?
I have two, actually. One is that I recently found out that the Deer Lodge School District's water samples have not been documented at the state for the lead. And so the remediation for that, if needed, can be upwards of $400,000 in some school districts. And that is due to be done again this year, but our initial samples never were documented at the state level. Two, with declining enrollments and everything, most school districts in Montana face a $10,000 to a $258,000 food debt. I ask you what the food debt is for this school district. Are we a district able to maintain financial solvency for the food program? Have we looked at the financial sustainability of the school meal program? If this bond passes, are we going to have a multi-purpose room disguised as a cafeteria in a school district that has uncertain financial sustainability in the times we're in? In conclusion, how does this bond secure an educational future for the children of Powell County?
Any more public comment? Any discussion on? I guess I'm gonna put out how I have been very conflicted in this because it is a lot of money. And I have spent a considerable amount of time researching property taxes in this county for the last 18 months. And very interestingly, the top 50 taxpayers in the elementary district, 36 of them are homes at Rock Creek Cattle Company. And there's 200 homes up there or better. So those folks don't have the vote at this table because there's only a handful of actual voters up there, but they're going to be paying for facilities that us as a community can use. The other major taxpayers are utilities. Of that list, there's only 5 locally owned, operated things. So I think when we look at, and that's the majority of the bill is paid that way. Then we start looking, if you go through tax bills, what this is going to cost. I have an apartment building on Main Street. It's going to add $900 a year in taxes. I'm paying $2,800 a year to the landfill in taxes. So to me, it's more important for the future and everything else than, we got to have a landfill, but we're gouged in other places. I looked at some ranch properties. I spent time looking at ranch properties, and what this cost is darn near what most people are paying for in the landfill. And they come in here every day with garbage from out of county and fill that thing up. And there's not a big push to stop that. So then you start looking at the plans and what we need to do. We're, as Eric has pointed out since he's been here, we're a Class A school trying to operate on almost a Class C budget. And we've got to start consolidating down. And I don't know if this is the absolute right thing to do, but I think after looking at things, it kind of gets us in the right direction. We haven't had a building in over 50 years, and you gotta replace and maintain. So I guess that's where I just wanted to put all of that out there and hear all of that. Bart?
Yeah, just, we had a meeting in Racetrack last night, that's where I live, and it was pretty well attended, and got all the information, a lot like we had a couple of weeks ago, and some good questions. Nobody's excited about the taxes going up, and honestly, the landowners, the ranch owners are going to pay a more significant part of that bill. And nobody's excited about it. I'm not excited about it. But when we got done and we were visiting, the general consensus, I won't say everybody because not everybody, but an overall consensus was, I don't like this, but it's something that we need to do. Because frankly, the maintenance here has been lacking for 10 years, and we're all of a sudden have to catch up on that. And I wish there was a way to wave a wand and do this without us having to pay taxes, but unfortunately, property taxes is the way that the school system is funded. I don't think that's necessarily the best way. I can think of better ways, but it is what we've got. And so I think this is the direction that we need to go because we don't really have any other options. As John said, keep right on. We'll pay this now or pay a lot more later. I also don't disagree with you on a couple of your points. Primarily, you brought up at the last big meeting, look, school costs $80,000-$90,000 a year to run, or to run that. And, what's that going to look like? I think that's going to be a discussion if this bond passes, but we need to look at that because, the school district's in no shape to fund that fully. And so, and we brought that up at the meeting last night, and people are like, 90,000 a year to run the pool. We're gonna have to come up with a plan. So is this whole scenario perfect? No, but I do believe it needs to be done. My taxes are going up with the passes, but I think it's perfect because I don't really feel like we have, I don't feel like we could wait on this. We've already waited a long time.
One of the other things discussed last night, everybody's like, well, why do you need the multi-purpose? Well, the fact is College Hill Gym's gonna go away. That's not fit for kids being there. There's no way you're gonna retrofit that, or once you start working on that, you gotta make that ADA accessible. How do you do that with the gym upstairs and the bathroom downstairs? You have to redo all the electrical, all the plumbing, everything, so. If College Hill goes away, and we don't have somewhere else for these kids, because this gym's busy every night, junior high or sometimes high school. If the Park and Rec goes away, wrestling's gonna go away unless they find somewhere else to go. And I guarantee you the city's not gonna build a gym for rec. So you're gonna lose all these programs that the little kids get coming up. And the rest, as they get into high school, then you really suffer because they got no basketball skills or anything. They just got nowhere to play. I wasn't really for the multi-purpose room at first, but after looking at it, I don't think there's any other option.
I think the discussion of College Hill has kind of been overlooked. Oh, sorry. I think,
Gordon, I'm gonna let the board
Oh,
have,
sorry.
and then I'll come
Sorry.
back and let
Okay.
you guys have another bite at the apple.
tell me what to do.
You, goodness. You have anything you wanna add?
Well, I guess the one thing I would add is not just the space for gym and sport. We have our career fairs in here. We don't have a spot to have a science fair because they've got PE in here all day long. There's so many things that we end up lacking because we just don't have the facilities to do what we need to right now that enhance our children's education. So I'm kind of with Scott in part. I'm not happy about my taxes going up. I mean, they went up substantially between 2020 and 2022. And my kids aren't going to get a whole lot of the benefit of it, but there's several other generations that will. And we've got to start investing somewhere.
You have a board comment?
I think when I look at this as well, when we're putting good money after bad, and which budget it comes out of. And I think that's a huge distinction when it comes to the finances. Whether it's taken out of one pool or you're able to manage it out of another, hopefully making it more efficient. So some of those costs can come down by taking some of our buildings offline. That is hopefully going to reduce the cost, whether it be through the power, the heating, the extra insurance, everything that comes along with that. But then also, not only just cleanliness maintenance, but the actual refurbishing maintenance that comes with it. And the building that we're looking to take offline, we cannot, and clarify, but we cannot tear into that at all if we do have a problem without total remediation. Top, side, and bottom. Is that correct?
If you disturb the asbestos, you should be doing an abatement of that space. So if that you're taking up the plastic tiles, ceiling tiles, or you're into that vermiculite, those should have an abatement done if you're exposing asbestos in the building.
Making building more efficient, but consolidate. I can't think of anyone in this room that isn't touched by the tax issue. But do you spread it out over 25 years in something that is a little bit more controlled, that is potentially budgetable, or you're taking it out of general fund capital, throw a levy up there to put a Band-Aid on it at some point, and then you're dealing with putting out fires constantly. The date in which the last bond that was here in the elementary district was for the boiler, is that correct?
That was a levy, it wasn't a bond.
That was-
The bond, it was grants and it was financed through the Court of Investments,
Yeah. When was the last bond for the elementary district?
1978.
Yeah, the big one, built this building. So, almost 50 years ago. So, you know, looking at dividing up and taking out a long-term deal versus spending $125,000 here, $150,000 here, and yet never having an actual class improvement, just trying to get it to maintain. And Shane, I don't necessarily disagree with you as well. To what aspect do we look at every single building? We had to get information for the board. Do we have, you know, we're gonna have a bowling bottom, we're gonna suck a kid down, or is it just simply a leak something? Okay, so that was really good news there. What else do we need to do for this building? So that was a little bit hard. You know, we didn't know how much maintenance, how much is gonna be done. So looking at the very general and how quickly are we in a potential emergency situation, we're gonna have to run through this. I'm glad that we got professional advice instead of like, well, I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? Where do we start from here? So with the game plan, I do feel better about the numbers. I do feel better that we do have a footprint laid out. As all these start to get more expensive as time goes, and we've been 50 years without a bond, which means we haven't done anything huge and major for 50 years.
We are looking to use as much stuff out of Granville as we can over there, like the boilers are 5 years old, I think, is all of Granville, so hopefully we can move those into the junior high boilers. And all the kitchen stuff's up to date and new, so we're gonna bring all that kitchen stuff into the new kitchen. So we're trying to save money where we can save money by using good stuff out of Granville into the other buildings.
Board have any other, or I ask? Is there? Back up.
Yeah, I think College Hill is the piece that I think kind of gets, we talk about Granville, we talk about what a mess it is. But really this multi-purpose room is to replace College Hill and that my children are young and use that space quite often. And the thought of them being in there. And I mean, Shane, you talked about how sick you were the year you taught in there. I think that is huge, that's where our rec department is holding their sports right now. Basketball's in there right now. And I mean, that's where I hold many cheer. Like there's just so many kids in and out of there. Even though we've taken our classroom or PE classes out of there, there's still, our community is still using it because it is the only option. And so I think this idea of the multi-purpose room, although it may seem extravagant to some, it really is to help our entire community, like Missy said. It's not just for sports, it's not just for, you know, our athletics, it's for all the things that we need an extra space for. So, yeah, I think College Hill isn't necessarily the thing that's talked about that is a disaster, but it's also a disaster like Granville. So.
Two quick things. One, when you talk about the asbestos tiles and ceiling tiles, same issue is in Duval. I don't know about Spear because I don't teach down there, but Duval has the same tiles and the same ceiling panels. So if you're going to tear into those and worry about asbestos issues, you're going to have that same issue when you get to junior high. And my second question is, you mentioned those boilers. Now, it's my understanding that the boilers in Granville Stewart are hot water boilers. Duval is a steam, and I believe Spear is steam. When you change those over from steam to a hot water system, you're increasing the pressure. Are those pipes going to handle that pressure when they're 75 years old?
I'll just respond. Yeah, right now, the estimate that we have in there is assuming we're buying new. But our goal is if we can find ways to save money, we're gonna do that to save money. So what we'll do as we get into this, we're getting into engineering of truly design because we're not at that stage yet. You just, as a community, you don't want to invest that amount of design effort and cost into the stage. We'll analyze that and we'll see what the best fit is for that, and maybe they're backup boilers for the district, should the other steam boilers go down. But I think, yeah, that's all part of the design process if this passes.
Okay, so we're not sure about that yet,
But yeah, that's why we have not assumed that they're in the cost model that we have not assumed that we're using them, because we want to make sure that we have the right amount of money accommodated for. But if we can save money, that's what we'll do. And so in some districts, you know, we have found ways to come in under budget and not issue all of those bonds. So if we can get this thing in at 14 million and save $1.5 million, that's our goal, right? That's what we want to do.
If the asbestos in that Duval, because you will, when you read through the scope, there is some remodel and stuff. So what does the asbestos in that Duval look like?
So we would contain it to the area. So that's part of our renovation is, should we come in and modify some walls and some ceilings, we would contain it to that classroom, you know, remove those tiles, replace the new ones in there. We don't touch the floor. We don't have to replace it, but the ceilings will probably will have the most issues.
Say we are able to save money by not needing boilers. If we're able, and instead of not doing the temps, are you able then to look at the roof?
Yes.
At that point,
So,
because it is attached to that.
yeah, so should also clarify, we have in these remodel projects, we put a 15% contingency on kind of project like this that allow for that flexibility in the scope to say, okay, if we uncover something along the way where we find a leak in the roof, you want to replace that as part of the project. So that's in there. At the same time, the bond language is written for facility upgrades as necessary. So it allows that flexibility to if the district so chose to put an elevator in the Duval building, they can do that. So that's all flexible within the bond language.
Is there any other comments?
Hi guys, Mary Minor, we're from Justin, like you guys know. So I just want to backtrack for people that don't know, I've been fighting for the pool all summer. Poor Tara has been talking to me for 9 months. So I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate Mr. Gustafson just like getting this underway and looking at all the deep issues, because I feel like it's important as a mother, but as someone who's watching our younger kids not have a place to go that's safe, that's, you know, out of the weather, that's somewhere that they don't have to worry about life or whatever is going on in their personal lives. And so it was very selfish on my part. I wanted a pool for myself. I wanted my son to learn how to swim, not driving 30 minutes to Anaconda, taking off 2 hours of work to go take him to swim lessons, and just having a place where I could teach him, because I feel like I can at 2 years old, but maybe not when 5 or 6. So these things then came up, right? And you found all of these things where I am now a huge advocate for a multi-purpose center, because I didn't know what College Hill was like. I didn't know what my kid is going to be coming to and dealing with. And so I just advocate for this. I really I was really gonna pull for option 1 before everyone started talking about what is needed in this district. I'm a huge advocate for trimming the fat and figuring out where other places can, where we don't need things, where things are being inefficient, what's going on. But the pool was the minor selfish thing. Everything else that we've been talking about is for our future. If we want people to live here, if we want people to stay here, they're going to have a good school district and a good place that they feel comfortable sending their kids to. And so if we can use the multi-purpose center for other things, that's amazing. That's great, because we'll need it down the line. And I feel like if we don't take care of it now, who knows how expensive it's going to be. Like you said, it's been 50 years since the elementary school district has paid for anything to benefit their school buildings. And so I really appreciate the work that you guys are doing. I really appreciate you and Tara and everybody for all the hard work and all these late nights, because it's really important to me as a mom But I feel like it's really important to me as somebody who wants to live in Deer Lodge and see it thrive, not just decline.
Well, I wanted to say, my kids all went to school here and it was great here and I think everything is great and I think we should take care of it. Keep pushing forward better. I wanted to say that my granddaughter, where she's living, they will not float a bond. They're pulling trailers because there's no room. They just pull in another trailer so they can have room for a classroom. Because they need something done. So we need to do it.
Scott, I just got one last comment. Part of it's an apology. You might know that I was on the school board for 15 years and I was board chairman when we decided to get rid of the maintenance supervisor. And we had a hard decision to make as a school board. Do we get rid of the maintenance supervisor or do we get rid of the school teacher? To me, that was a very easy decision. Our job is to teach kids. But you also want nice places to teach kids. And so it's very evident that when you get rid of a maintenance supervisor that you're asking your staff to do a lot of things that maybe they're not equipped to actually do. And some things fall to the wayside, but Granville Stewart was built the way it was. And I don't think a maintenance supervisor could have solved that problem. If you build a building to be a bomb shelter and not a school, you're gonna have some problems. And so I do apologize that got rid of the maintenance supervisor and got to this point. Finally brought him back on board. Good job. So here we are. But let's move forward.
Any other discussion? Discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. We'll have a roll call vote. It'll be the elementary trustees. Trustee Anderson,
Aye.
trustee Smith,
Aye.
trustee Merle,
Aye.
trustee Nicholson,
Aye.
and I vote aye as well. Motion carries. And that is all we have on our agenda. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Have a good night, Will.
Thanks, Scott. Have a good evening.
Yeah.